Welcome to the Pharos Fit podcast, where we help you to explore your capacity to move better, push further, and achieve your limitless potential through fitness, nutrition, recovery, and lifestyle. Hey guys, welcome back to the Pharos Fit podcast. Good to be back with you guys. I'm here with Brandon, my producer today. Hey, Brandon.
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
We're good. You know?
Very good.
Yeah. I'm here with my wife, Emily. It's a special week.
It is a special week. I was like, not only are we good, we are great.
It's our son Wyatt's first birthday week. So we had a little celebration today with our gym crew, our gym family, who, we have such an amazing community here, and everyone's helped us raise Wyatt this year. It's been a strange year to say the least, but everybody's chipped in and really helped us raise him and look after him. And me and Emily both obviously work full time, and we have a lot of people who help take care of him.
It takes a village.
Especially Emma and especially Angela. And
yeah. Huge shout out to Irma and Angela, who just transformed the gym today into the wild, wild west.
Yeah.
And brought balloons and
horses and animals
and made it. They got him one of those little rocking chair horses.
Yeah.
But so today is just such a reminder of how lucky and blessed we are that we've built this community that now just loves our son. I love that.
Well, it's also because, you watch the news and everything just seems so shitty and so negative. But then you come in and you experience so much love and care and all that kind of stuff. And it just, it picks you up and it makes you realize there are really good people out there, and it's
so good.
It's really easy to descend into madness when you watch the news and just think culture is doomed. But
completely would forget that community is such an important thing, and that most people don't have someone to talk to at the end of the day, or even just come by and give them a hug, or
right.
You can't even give somebody a hug in public anymore.
I think there's something really interesting that's happening right now with us really understanding how important society is to us, because when people don't have human contact, when people don't have any social interaction, it affects their health. I was speaking to a client of mine who has two grandmothers, both in their 90s, both razor sharp before we went into quarantine, and both in very good health. But as soon as quarantine hit, he noticed a decline in their health. As the weeks and months got by, they just lost sharpness. They just
zest for life.
They just lost their zest for life because they weren't seeing anybody. They didn't have their normal routine. They didn't have their usual communication. They just they sit all day on their own, probably watching endless stupid television that just fills their minds with
those midday ads.
I mean, it's just awful. And we need social interaction. We are social creatures, and if we don't have it, it's not good for us. It's not healthy. So yeah, it's a sad situation.
But not today. It's not.
Not today. Today was a reminder of how great it can be when great people come together. So today we are in our second kind of half of this Code of the West track that we're on. I'm kind of going through these because these are the values that I try and stick to myself, and values that I try and instill into the business in some fashion. It's stuff that's important to me, and it's not stuff I get right all the time. Again, it's stuff that I kind of aspire towards. And a lot of it seems very, very relevant right now, just in terms of, where we are as a society and as a culture, as a country, as people, because I think we're all trying to hold on to some values that mean something, because there's so much around us that doesn't seem to mean anything. And there's just so much nonsense and so much, so many lies and so much back and forth and so much politics and all this crap that we deal with. And it's just I think it's important to just have a set of values for ourselves that we shoot towards, that we look for in ourselves, and we try and bring out in others, and just to keep us grounded in something. These are the things that I wake up in the morning, and Emily always makes fun of me because I sit with my coffee and I read these values, and I try and think about how I'm going to make these values current in my day. How am I gonna do these things? How am I gonna do these things better, I should say? Because like I said, I don't always get it right, and it's just something to shoot for. So I'm going to go through all 10 again. We did the first 5 in the last podcast. We're going to go through all 10, and then we're going to start at number 6 today.
Can you refresh me on the first 5? Can you
Yeah,
get
I'm
me
gonna go
in
through that.
state? Okay,
Yeah,
good.
okay. So the number 1 was live each day with courage. Number 2 was take pride in your work. Number 3 is always finish what you start. Number 4 is do what needs to be done. Number 5 was be tough but fair.
Which is so good.
Yeah. Now, the last 5 points, so starting with number 6, which you're going to go through today, is when you make a promise, keep it. Number 7 is ride for the brand. Number 8 is talk less and say more. Number 9 is remember that some things aren't for sale. It's probably my favorite one. And number 10 is know where to draw the line. And I know all these things sound like very simple things. And, you know, I think at some point these things were a given. It was just like, of course, this is the way things should be. But we just seem to have gotten so far away from these basic values that I think it's worth, you know, going back over them and really trying to think about what they mean and why they're important. So starting with number 6, when you make a promise, keep it. Now, this seems to be particularly apt right now with the political state of things and just politicians in general, because, you know, every time you make a promise and don't keep it, you lose integrity, right? And politicians, it's not just American politics, it's politics all over the world. It's like people just say things to get into power. They just make endless promises, meaningless promises.
Right. I feel like the word before promise is empty. Like we're ingrained now that like promises pretty much mean nothing. Like we almost say like don't promise because you know that you can't. Like you know you can't.
It's almost a joke, right? It's a joke when a
Promises are a
politician
joke
makes a
right
promise,
now.
because it's like, okay, right.
Yeah.
But the thing is, people believe it. They vote for these people, and then 4 years later, they didn't make good on their promises. But people forget, and it's like, it's like at some point you have to, you know, they have to be accountable for the promises that they made and they did not stick to. And I think that's the same for all of us in our daily pursuits, in our businesses and stuff. You know, if we make promises to our members, that we do not come good on, then every time we break a promise, we lose integrity as business owners and as an operation, and people stop trusting you.
Well, what's interesting is I feel like sometimes we are good at making promises to other people because that's like key, right? Like we know one of the reasons why our community is so successful is because we have a community that holds each other accountable. We have people that you want to show up for, coaches and members and friends and a whole kind of community. So we know that accountability works, and we know that it's easier to keep promises when we're doing it for somebody else, right? Like I'm doing this for you, they're counting on me. But it's so hard to keep promises to yourself.
That's true.
That when you said that, it's like all the promises that, you know, yeah, I mean, I feel bad if I'm like, oh yeah, I promise I'll do that. And I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry, I just didn't get to it or something like that. You know, like that kind of stuff happens. But the biggest promises that we break are the ones that we make for ourselves, you know?
Right.
Completely agree. I'm so easy to make sure I go do something for someone else, but when it comes to me, like, I can get away with doing this. I can do it. But no, someone else is going to get that projection out there. I got to cover my ass. I got to let someone see that I showed up for them. We forget
that I showed up for
Right.
them. Yes. And because it gives a good image of you, right? So you're doing it for other people because you want them to see you in this light. But it's interesting that we don't do that for ourselves because we're like, well, it's me seeing the darkest side of myself is, you know, no different than every other day.
But I think people don't realize that every time they break a promise to themselves or to someone else, you chip away at your sense of self and your sense of self-respect and and your sense of integrity. So gradually you chip away until at some point you just lost all sense of yourself.
So does this mean that we should stop making promises, or that we should make that like maybe our promises are too lofty and that we should start with smaller promises that we know we can get?
Yeah, I mean, make promises you know you can keep. Otherwise, it shouldn't be a promise. It should be I'm going to do my best to get this thing done.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, and really with these things, you know, it's all about like creating a version of yourself that you can be happy with. It's not just about like fulfilling promises for other people. It's about, you know, your own sense of, like I said, self-esteem and self-worth, and you know, not like I said, the more you break your promises, the more you hate yourself, and the more you stop thinking highly of yourself, and then that, of course, you know, leads to even more problems.
So how do you stop breaking promises?
Well, there's that one way where you overexert yourself and you
Right.
say, "Oh, I'm going to promise everything to everybody," and then
Right, like you're a yes person.
Right.
And I am like that, right? Where I think that it's where it comes from too, because it's not like people who break promises are like piece of shit people, right? It's
No.
that you may feel that way about yourself. Like what you're saying is like you chip away at your own self-confidence, and we start telling ourselves this story that we suck, people can't rely on us, blah, blah, blah. But really it's that we want to give so much of ourselves that we
You
say
take on
yes
too
to
much.
too
Yeah.
many things.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I think it's almost like an acknowledgement of, like, I'm making too many promises that I can't possibly keep. I need to step back. I need to really think about, look, what can I really do? You know, what's realistic? How much can I take on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis? And what can I execute really well? It's better to take on 5 things that you can execute really well than to take on 20 things that you're going to fucking be half-assed at. And
Right.
kind of,
Or even one thing.
yeah, or
You
even
know,
one
back
thing.
to that, what's your one thing?
Yeah. Yeah. But the bottom line is, if you do make a promise, keep it.
Or don't make
it.
promises.
slide your mic, make
This
sure
way?
it's in front of you. Yeah. Just make sure, because when you turn and
Oh,
talk
yeah.
away.
I got a squeaky chair as well, which is
You do.
Likewise.
If you want, you
try
can.
not to move.
I think we should just get a whole new furniture set.
We
It's
really
not
should.
conducive to our podcasting recordings.
yeah.
All of our even the table shakes. We're letting you guys really on the ends of this. That the bolts underneath the chairs sometimes come loose, you know.
That's true. Okay, let's move on to the next point, which is ride for the brand. Now, we talk about this a fair bit, Emily, and it's a really important thing for us because, you know, when you are trying to build a community and a culture, and, you know, you have a ton of employees, and you want people to ride for your brand. You're not just like giving them a job, and they're not just showing up and taking a paycheck. They are they are echoing your values. They are, you know, representing your business. They are executing things on a daily basis in a way that is true to your brand, and true to the essence of what you want your business to be like. And, you know, I think we're constantly trying to, like, you know, not get people to ride for our brand, because I think it happens naturally, but we're constantly asking ourselves,
What are
can
we
make-
doing? Yeah.
What are we doing, and how can we make people, you know, ride for the brand even more?
My favorite thing about this phrase, well, it's 2 parts, because one, we ride motorcycles, and it just is sexy. Like, it's ride for the brand, right? And when I say that, it's like, you know, as a motorcyclist, there's like that thing people are like, you know, as a motorcyclist and a parent, right? People are like, oh, you got to get that away, get that away. But there's that like seed of something inside of me that's like, like, I can't help it. I just love riding motorcycles. I love riding for that brand, right? It's like I identify with this belief system and this value system, right? So when I think of the word brand, I don't think it's like this commercialized business that became like the Nike Just Do It and became a lifestyle, and then is a bunch of like, you know, Instagram models that are all like doing a quote unquote lifestyle brand. And like, I don't think of it when I think ride for the brand.
You know
I think
that I'm an Instagram model now.
I actually did know that. That's why I made the joke, because now I just want to make sure you don't sell out and become, you know, what it is that we're talking about. No, but, you know, you have, like, if you create something that is a value system, what Pete was saying, and you align with that value system, it will naturally create a community of people that all want to ride for that brand, that all want to ride for the idea of, you know, a high performance lifestyle, the idea that like you do have limitless potential, the idea that like I come in and I work hard, and fitness and exercise and living well and exploring my best self is a non-negotiable for me. It's like those are the people that we draw, and those are the people that will ride for this brand, because that's what it is that we're trying to create, you know?
And a lot of this, I think, comes down to leadership as well. Like we see, you know, because we look at our business, we look at other people's business, and when you see people in other businesses that don't ride for their own brand, you kind of say, well, how do you expect other people to ride for your brand when you're not willing to ride for it yourself? Like, you have to be the example. You have to set the example.
So ride for the brand kind of means like walk the walk for you.
Yeah, I mean, kind of, but well, yeah. And then it's like you have to walk the walk, and you have to you have to exemplify the values that you want to instill in others, and then you hope that over time, people will want to ride for the brand with you.
Right.
And I think you're true. Like a lot of it is image, and a lot of it is, of course, some of it is marketing. Like you can't deny that. So I mean, we both
right. Like if you ride for the brand well enough, then we have like awesome merch, and you want our cool shirts, and you got a Pharos t-shirt, you got the keychain, and you got that.
It's also like brands that you want to associate yourself with, and like a lot of that is marketing. And we both ride Indian motorcycles, right? And we like the way Indian present themselves. We like the way they market themselves. We love the bikes, but it's a whole lifestyle branding thing as well.
Sure.
So I don't think you can get away from like, the way things are marketed affects, our emotional response to it. But it's
we have value systems, and we got together to create this, and the people that. Sorry, now I just totally blacked out. We'll definitely have to
target
cut
market,
this.
avatar, and you're going off of waiting to find your thing.
Oh, right. We waited to see what our community was like, to see what they, based off of our values, people aligned with that. And then they all of a sudden became our target market. And then our messaging became a lot clearer, and our quote unquote marketing became a lot clearer because, like we kind of just waited to see what, it was never like, we're going to go and we're going to target, 30 to 50-year-old people with disposable income and blah, blah,
I mean, what you're saying is it grew organically into what it is. And now, our brand is what it is because of the people who made it.
Right. Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying is like, we're kind of now at this point, 3 years in, where like, yes, we hope that it all starts at the top and it trickles down, and hopefully like our values and belief system and everything that we believe to be like true and right and fun about fitness and health and all of this trickles down to every single person that is passionate about that and comes in.
I mean, there is a flip side to that, in that it is hard sometimes, because when you have a gym the size of ours and you have a lot of different people, people with their own beliefs and their own backgrounds and so forth, it can be easy. It would be easy to be swayed by everyone's opinion all the time. And if we listen to everybody all the time, you would lose, your own sense of brand.
That is a good point.
You obviously, we did have a clear vision of what we wanted the gym to be. Maybe not a complete vision of what the community would look like, but what we wanted the gym to be. And it would be easy to kind of like go off tracks because you're like, kind of like
swayed too much.
You're swayed too much, like very in the moment. I'm gonna go this way. Oh no, now I'm gonna go that way, just to please people, because me and you are both pleasers. We are.
This is true.
So it's very easy to be swayed.
We like to say yes.
Yeah, we like to say yes.
When people ask for things, we're like, yes.
Right.
Of course.
Right.
No?
Yes.
I don't know what that means.
But that it's important that we don't go off the rails.
Well, and you say that
when we're trying to please people,
right? And it goes kind of back to that like ship, because Pharos, the first lighthouse, just to keep the imagery all aligned. Someone needs to know the course, and someone needs to steer the ship, right? Like those two things are kind of like the non-negotiables, but the people who are, the people who are helping and the people who are like, the ship itself can change, but like we still know where it is that we're like going.
Yeah,
we're still
there's a point,
charting the course.
This comes up to another thing later on, but there's a point where you have to say no. And why? Because it does not align with our values. And that's it.
Because it doesn't ride for the brand.
Yeah.
And you got to keep it simple like that. Just nope, can't.
Nope.
Yeah.
Doesn't go with brand.
Doesn't ride for the brand. And whenever I see this, because if you missed the first episode, then all of these values are plastered on our wall to be seen every time we wake up. So every time I see ride for the brand, I always think like, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. Those two things work for me. They go kind of hand in hand with me, where it's like you want people to be like so hell yes, and if it's not a hell yes, then like what? Then let's fix it. Let's change it.
Well, for me, and it's also like an ideal to live up to, and it's like, am I creating a brand that I would want to ride for? I mean, it's my brand and that's our brand. So like, of course I want to ride for it. But if I wake up one morning and it's like, I don't want to ride for this brand anymore, then we haven't done our job properly. So it continues to be an evolving ideal that we have to try and live up to in order for others to want to live up to it.
Right.
Because otherwise, you know, otherwise you end up with wishy-washy kind of like, you know, a wishy-washy kind of gym that doesn't really stand for anything. And, you know, it's difficult because you always want to preach tolerance of everybody, tolerance of, you know, whoever walks through our door. But you also have to have, you know, a set of values that you believe to. You have to have your non-negotiables, some things that just don't stand, and you have to kind of like stand up to that, you know, whilst trying to the image of the brand that you have, because, you know, it's always that thing of like one little bit of poison in the well can
one drop
poison
of
everything.
poison.
Yeah. So it's like you do have to be careful with the integrity of your brand and upholding the ideal of your brand that you want, because
I guess, you know,
that's... I've followed brands before that I was completely like sold on, and I wanted to associate myself with those brands, and then they did something or they said something or they moved in a certain direction that made you not want to be associated with that brand anymore. Mm-hmm. And it can be a very fine line. You know, it's one thing you do wrong or one thing you say wrong that can completely change people's, you know, view of your brand. You know, we all know of a very specific brand that I'm talking about in the fitness genre that, you know, at one point everybody wanted to align themselves with, and then one thing happened and then everybody wanted to distance themselves from it.
Right.
Now I think they'll come out of that because they're changing things, but, you know, it's a prime example of, you know, they created a value system that everybody was like, this is what we stand for. And then the question came up,
I don't stand for that.
Well, then it was like, they thought they were standing for this, but then this happened. It's like, oh, well, maybe these people actually stand for that. I don't want to be associated with that. So therefore I'm going to distance myself from that and go in a different way. So it's, you know, it's creating a brand and it's maintaining a brand and not losing, you know, losing your sense of what that brand should stand for.
Right, because it always goes back to the value system. Like what you just described was like a break in the value system.
Right.
So it wasn't like, oh, the brand did a bad marketing scheme and all of a sudden it was like, no, like all of a sudden
it was the
value system core.
Yeah,
the core
poison.
of value system was a drop of poison in the well, you know? And yeah.
Yeah, so that's something
the dark side of the brand.
Right.
Riding for the brand.
Yeah. You guys said something that struck a chord with me. And I've noticed this myself that, you know, you said 3 years, and really 3 years before you really kind of kick it into gear and get stuff aligned and figured out. Why do you guys think it takes 3 years? I mean, I think a lot of people in different industries, and you guys yourself kind of mentioned it, like 3 years to kick it into gear.
There are different things come into it. So I think for the first year, you're just trying to like set up and trying to build something and just trying to get people through the door. You're not even sure whether it's going to work. You think it's going to work. You hope it's going to work. And you're just kind of like laying the foundations, and you have like a very almost like idealistic view of what you think your business is going to be. And then, of course, as time goes by, reality set in. Okay, you know, I think a lot of people that start in the fitness industry, you know, they think they're starting their dream. They think they're working in their dream hobby. So they're like, I love fitness, therefore I'm going to open a business in fitness. And then the reality of running that fitness business sets in, and it's not just about working out anymore.
It has nothing to do with fitness.
It's nothing to do with fitness.
It's just
about,
a business.
Numbers and making a business work and paying bills and paying rent and paying endless goddamn taxes to try and, you know, to stay afloat. So, you know, the dream that you have in the beginning soon becomes a reality, and it's not like you lose, you know, everything you started with, but it just becomes a more practical. Okay, you know, you have your values, but then it's like, okay, but how do we make those values functional in terms of running an actual business?
Yeah, I feel like year one is definitely idealism, like and people just believing in an idea and a seed of an idea. And then in year two, it's kind of about like noticing the holes and then trying to now realize that you have to like create systems and things in place to help fill up those holes. And I would say, I don't know if 3 years is like a magical number, but for us, I would say that because of the pandemic, like the pandemic made me realize that what we created, like, so like it was like it solidified for me that we have taken 3 years to build something that now can withstand this horrible, like this horrible time. So, right. It's like as horrible as it has been a nice reminder of like, it took us 3 years to build this thing that now is, we are obviously leaning on heavily, and they are supporting us so much through these very strange times. So like, I don't know. I feel like it's been 3 years of just like establishing relationships and building systems and doing all of that. And then when it's tested is like the true,
right. Well, there's a couple of things as well. Like systems is a great word that you mentioned, because it really is all about systems that work, that run your business. Now, right from the start, if it was still up to me, like to my floor, this is not a good thing. I would still be coaching all the classes, and this business would be a disaster. It was Emily and it was Jeff who were like, we have to step out and we have to bring coaches in and we have to work, on the business and not in the business. Something historically I've struggled with, and I've done a lot of jobs that someone else would have done better, but through stubbornness or pride or whatever you want to call it, I was like, no, I'm going to do it myself. No, I'm going to do it myself. No, I'm going to do it myself. Wasn't the best use of my time. Someone else would have done it better. The business would probably have progressed quicker if I hadn't have been so stubborn. But I think it's almost it takes 3 years. I mean, it took me 3 years to really be like, where am I most valuable to the business? And that's the question you have to ask yourself. Where
is
are
your greatest contribution?
What is my greatest contribution? How can I really move this business forward? And the answer is not like you have to do all the work yourself, because it's just impossible. Especially like as we've expanded 3 times in 3 years. So it's impossible for if you want to own a business and you want to lead a business, you can't always be in the business. You have to step out and concentrate on the things that help you grow as a business, and not so much on the day-to-day kind of thing. So and to answer your question, it took 3 years to get me to that point where I'm like, okay, I kind of understand now who I am, what my role is, and how I can lead without opening the gym in the morning and closing it at night kind of thing. That said, it's been very important to me to be involved on the grassroots level, because that's important to my sense of self and who I am, and my sense of leadership, and showing the people on a daily basis that I'm not like an owner who's just like telling people what to do. Like
you're here for them.
I'm here for them, and when the shit goes down, they can rely on me to stand by their side, kind of thing. So it's important to me to be there for people in that way, but it's also important for me to understand, what my real value is to the company moving forward, and where I should really kind of position myself to be of value, and not just to be, opening, closing, and everything in between, kind of
and
thing.
Doing all the things. The chief everything officer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Back to pandemic, because I think while you were saying that, I like zeroed in on what I was really trying to say. I feel like the pandemic tested, and it actually like defined what our quote unquote brand is, because our gym is shut down. So we are not a 22,000, when you're like, oh, well, what are you? We are a 22,000 square foot, strength and conditioning facility. It's like, well, actually we're not. Right now we are just a belief system, right? We are closed. We are not in operation. And sure, we are offering services, but the reason that people are following those services are not for the services, right? They're for the belief system. So I feel like it took 3 years for us to actually define what that belief system is. Like during the pandemic, we started doing the Everybody Has a Story, where we, highlight one of our members' stories. And I just got to interview our virtual studio ladies who found us during the pandemic and, followed us. And now there's like a whole hardcore group of ladies that show up every day, 8 and 9:15, them live classes and doing it. And while I was interviewing them, asking like how they heard about us, it really was as simple as Pete showing up the day after were following us on Instagram. And the day after we were in shutdown, Pete showed up on Instagram and was just authentically like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know where, but I'm here and I'll be here and we're all in this together, and show up at 8 a.m. every day. And if you show up, I'll be here. So I hope to see you guys. And it was like a call to just stick together and be like supportive, be supportive during this time. And I think that is like, that has solidified for me, like, we are not a gym, like Pharos is not a place. Pharos is a people, it's that feeling. It's that
Asgard is not a place, it's a people.
Exactly.
From Thor.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they all got the reference, but thank you for really nailing it in. Shall we move on from Ride the Brand? Even though I feel like we could definitely do a whole episode on Ride for the Brand.
Yeah, let's move on. Okay, next one is talk less and say more. I mean, this again in these days is everybody wants to say everything on Instagram and no one wants to actually do anything. It's just like constant people talking and saying things, saying good things about other people, saying bad things about other people, saying what they think, saying what other people think, trying to get everybody to think what they think, and people just they're not acting and they're not doing valuable things. They're just constantly saying stuff. So people have gotten away from just like waking up in the morning and doing an honest day's work to waking up in the morning and just like spending their time going on Instagram, going on Facebook, saying a bunch of stuff that doesn't mean anything and doesn't help anything and doesn't have any real value. It's just creating like arguments and creating tension and creating hatred and making other people feel like shit. And, they spend all their time doing that rather than, like I said, acting in such a way or performing tasks that, have some value.
Agreed. It seems like everybody's finally got a megaphone now to project and say the things they need to say, but their listening skills have been completely shut off. It's like, guys, a lot of stuff being thrown out there and people being able to voice their opinions. Just sometimes just sit down, take in what someone has to say. You don't have to respond back all the time. Just take it, absorb it, or dump it.
I honestly feel like some people are like sitting in their bedrooms, surfing online, and just like commenting and saying, and this endless circle of like back and forth of comments and dislikes and all this stuff. And I'm just like, oh my God, just get up, get out, and go and do something of value.
That's the thing. They're missing that community, though. They're missing those people that they could do that, relate that to. And instead, they found it on their little nooks on the internet, and they found those people in Kansas or in Florida or in Germany. Like, oh, we all think the same things. Now we can just sit here with each other. And our place where we meet is the internet. And that's it. And it's like, you gotta get outside.
Yeah.
You gotta take action in what you believe in and all the things you want to do. But that's the hard part.
I like that you because this one for me, like, talk less, because ultimately people hear through your actions.
Right.
Not necessarily what it is that you're saying. And I have a hard time with this because I talk a lot and I have a lot of things to say.
That's true.
People always ask me, like staff will come up and say like, hey, Emily, I have a question. And I always say, and I have an opinion, because I don't know that I have an answer, but I definitely have something to say about it. But I, try to remember that, like, sometimes talking less and just doing it and showing it and says way more.
Yeah.
Again,
it goes back to kind of like often like leading from the front, and like if you believe in something, do it, make action on it, as opposed to just like endlessly talking about it and saying things, saying a lot of things without actually doing anything meaningful. I think sometimes, like, if we truly believe in something, then we will do it, and then the definition of what that thing will be apparent by the things that we did and revealed and showed ourselves doing, as opposed to just like a lot of people like say they're going to do stuff and talk endlessly about it, but then don't actually do the thing. Whereas if they just did the thing, they would have said it anyway. So I think it's another one of those
walk the walk.
Walk the walk.
Don't just talk the talk.
Yeah. Because it's easy.
That's the
to talk.
clueless
It's
way of
just,
saying the code of the West.
It's just so easy to talk, and it's so cowardly to talk. You know, I talked about the social media thing. I mean, there are people who literally, you know, they call them keyboard warriors or whatever, like just sitting there like ranting about this and ranting about that. And you just want to say, just get up, get out of your house, go for a walk, go and do something, you know, act. And then, you know, you'll be judged on your actions and not on your constant verbiage, which is just draining for everybody.
It's true.
Social media is the best and worst thing ever created.
Couldn't agree.
It's true.
Anything more on that one?
No, I feel weird talking about it. Isn't that funny? You're like, oh yeah. If I really want to say something meaningful, I'll just shut up during this whole segment.
Well, I think
you know.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of it is just too much salesmanship these days. People trying to like sell you something, whether it's an idea or a product, rather than just demonstrating it, or rather than just showing something to be effective. Like
I always say this when people come in for an intro. Technically, they're already sold. I don't need to sell you anything. You already came wanting coaching, right? Like you signed up for a personal one-on, like in the times that we were open and doing one-on-ones. Like you are coming to a private one-on-one where you know that we're going to go through and do some baselines and do some, you know, like goal setting and a game plan of sorts. So I already know you're sold on that idea. I already know that you like the idea of having a coach and having someone like help you and guide you through it, you know? So I don't need to come in and talk about the value, and talk so much about why this place is valuable, because if you called, if you signed up, if you pressed if you click the buy button for the intro or for your free class, then I know that you're already sold.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
No, completely. Sometimes we think we have to sell, but it's like, no. Let's just do it. You're here. Let's execute. Let's get your plan going and get you moving in the direction we need you going.
Yeah, and that's why, like, often now we get people moving in the gym pretty quickly because, you know, I mean, I know you said earlier, like, the gym itself is not the brand, but, you know, I feel like when someone comes into this gym, because of the kind of atmosphere and kind of the feel of the place, I feel like once we get them in and once they start moving in the space, and once we communicate with them in the way that we communicate and we make them feel comfortable, I think it pretty much like sells itself.
Right, like 90% is showing up, and we don't have. Yeah.
We don't have to sell them hard on the product because we show them why it's great.
Right, like your experience should sell you. Me talking doesn't sell you. You don't. No one's ever gonna leave a meeting with me or first. You know, you never go to a first class with a coach. Like people always associate salespeople as different than like coaches, but like if you have an awesome first class, you don't leave that class and say, "Wow, that coach was an incredible salesman." You know, like the coach just delivered a great experience, and I am sold.
Yeah, because I mean that's what we always said. We always wanted this to be the greatest fitness experience, and you don't sell a fitness experience by talking about it. You sell a fitness experience by delivering a great experience.
Absolutely,
and that's it.
By walking the walk. All right, let's move it along.
Okay, next one is probably my favorite one, which is remember that some things are not for sale. Now this is again, I think this goes back to a lot of kind of talk about integrity. There's a great line from a Springsteen song, of course. It's a Springsteen song.
It's always a Springsteen
There's a great line that goes, "It's a sad man, my friend, who's living in his own skin and can't stand the company." And it's that thing of like, the more I do things that don't align with my sense of values, the more I chip away at my own sense of self, my own sense of integrity, my own sense of, you know, who I am as a person and what I stand for. And the more you lose that, the more you sell out your values for profit or for, you know, or for some kind of gain in some kind of direction, the more you lose yourself. So if you don't hold on to the things that mean the most to you, if you don't hold on to those things that should not be for sale, then you're going to end up in a pretty bad place. And again, it's something that I've seen numerous times over the years. And you can't, although yes, the reality is we are running a business, and a lot of people are running businesses, and you have to make compromises, and you have to find ways to make ends meet at the end of the day. You can't overcompromise on your values without losing your sense of purpose, your sense of self, your sense of direction, and everything you stand for. So it's always going back to your core beliefs, your core values, your core systems, and saying, this is what we stand for, and it's not fucking for sale.
Mm-hmm.
So what is not for sale for you, Peter?
Yeah.
Well, you know, I talk to you about this a lot, of like what I want Pharos to be and what I want it to stand for. And, you know, for me, it's always like delivering on the product, delivering on the purpose. Everything we do has a purpose. We tell people what that purpose is, and then we have to deliver on it. If we don't, you know, my biggest word to you is like, I don't want to sell a bunch of stuff. I don't want to sell fitness stuff. So if we have classes and if we have, you know, new programs that just end up being a bunch of meaningless stuff, and there are gyms out there, by the way, I think they do just sell meaningless stuff. If that were to become our gym, then we would lose, I think, the integrity of our business and what we stand for. And at that point, the brand that I ride for no longer exists. It morphs into something different. It morphs into something else, and I lose all connection with it. You know, I connect to my brand because my brand carries
Your purpose.
my purpose, and the things that I believe in, and the things that the way that I believe things should be done. And if you, like I said, if you stop doing those things, or if you compromise those things, you let too many other voices in, you let, you know, too many numbers in, all this kind of thing, then again, you lose sense of self and sense of purpose, and that's a dangerous place to be.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think it's a great thing for people to ask themselves that, to know, listen, there's no price on this. There's no cost on this. Whatever I'm going to do, whatever I'm going to be or believe in or project for your brand, your company, your business, can't touch it. There's no price on it, or put a price on it and say, can I do that?
Yeah.
Should I do that? And then you'll be able to grow.
And again, it's hard, especially for me and Em, because we are yes people, and it's easy to say yes all the time. But the more you say yes, the more the likelihood of you compromising on something, you know, increases. You have to learn to say no, because, you know, this does not align with my values. Therefore, it's a hard no. And, you know, I think we've all been in positions before where, you know, maybe we've been offered a lot of money to do something, and we did it, and then we kind of like felt kind of like this didn't make me happy. Like I thought it was gonna,
like a Soylent commercial or something. I'm just kidding. I'm half kidding, but you know, like when you do like
I was like, did I do that?
No, but
my chest hurts.
We have leased we've you know, rented out our space for like film shoots and things like that. And people are like, oh, you know, we'll give you like brand recognition and blah, blah, blah. And you're like, I don't know if I think it's okay if we just fuzz out Pharos, you know, and you just like, we're not associated.
I hate that offer right there. Someone says, oh yeah, what if we give you this? Like,
yeah,
I'll tell you, oh, you can pay me.
Yeah.
That'll be fine if you guys come in here.
I guess there is a price on that.
Yeah. I mean, it is that thing of like, you know, you as individuals and as businesses, we all have to survive, and we all have to do things that enable us to survive. But there just has to be a point where, if it doesn't align with, again, your values and your sense of who you are and what your business is, then it's just not worth doing. So, yeah, some things should not be for sale. Any more on that, Brendan? Happy with that?
Yeah. No, I'm solid on that. Just, don't sell out. Don't do things that aren't going to make you feel bad. If you're not, like you said, hell yeah. Easiest way, easiest thing to hold yourself to.
If it's not a fuck yes, it's a no.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, and the last one, and it kind of like, it is kind of an extension of number 9, is know where to draw the line. My favorite line from Roadhouse.
You posted this today. He just posted
Be nice until it's time to not be nice.
I want you to be nice until it's time to not be nice.
Yeah.
Which is exactly right.
That's honest.
It is exactly right.
Be nice, and sometimes nice doesn't work.
Yeah.
I'm due for a rewatch there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
But again, it is that thing of like, you always want to be nice to people. You always want to listen to people. You want to take everyone's opinions in, and you want to be, you never want to be, disrespectful of people or to disregard someone's feelings or opinions on things. But there comes a point where you have to draw the line and say enough is enough. This is it. It's done.
This is big for our team because I think I just said this yesterday where I go, unlike a lot of people in customer service, I do not believe that the customer is always right. And that's like a statement, But I mean that where like sometimes people will try to take advantage of our team members.
Right.
And or you'll send some and it's like, no. I will stand like you're not right in this scenario, or it will be a classic scenario where they'll try to go above the team because they happen to know the owners or they happen to know management or whatever, and they'll say and then they'll go above them to try to come to us, and then our response is always like just reinforcing the policy that our team member accurately gave them, right, or whatever it is. There's that sense of like. I'm not just going to people like I'm not just going to appease you. I'm not just always going to bend over backwards because because you are the quote unquote customer. Like sometimes you're not right.
Well, and especially right now where like everybody's upset, and understandably so. We've been in this miserable situation for 9 months. Everyone's upset about everything. People aren't working. People have lost money. People have lost jobs. It's a very sensitive time. It's hard on a lot of people, and a lot of tempers are short, and mine included. So it is a difficult time, but we will be tolerant to a point. But if someone comes in and abuses a member of my staff, that's it. You're done. That's not gonna cut it. You just can't behave that way. So there's certain things that you just can't accept, and you have to know where to draw the line. Both in terms of what you're willing to tolerate in your business, in a face-to-face kind of capacity, and also what you're willing to let people say about you. I think that's something else we've like encountered in the past, like whether it's something online or somebody will say something, and at a certain point you have to like call them out on it and say this isn't right, this is out of order, like. And draw a line under it because.
But then at the same time, when you say nowhere to draw the line, that also means that you've acknowledged all the things that you're willing to let go of. All the things that are like the pick your battles kind of things.
Yeah.
Like when you know where the line is, then the things that you're like, all right.
There's different ways of drawing the line. Like drawing the line doesn't mean I'm going to punch
someone
you in the face.
It's never okay to hit people.
No, it just means like. We are drawing a line under this and moving forward in this fashion because we are not accepting this behavior kind of thing.
Right.
Whatever that behavior may be. So it's just, again, it goes back to like, these are our values. These are what I stand for. This is what we have decided is best for our community and our business. And we stand by that. And we're sorry that you don't agree, but this is it. This is where we draw the line and that's it. Because if not, again, you move into this wishy-washy territory of trying to like please everybody all the time and listen to everyone else's
and then people who get your bad habits get reinforced. Like if you're someone who's just used to being like, I'm calling for the manager, and then you always get what you want, it's always going to be like, well, yeah, I don't want to be mean. Like, I don't want to have to pull out Mr. Bad Guy, whatever. You don't want to have to go there, but you always get what you want when you are when you're mean. Mm-hmm. And so like sometimes people will come in and it will be like,
yeah, I mean, it just is that thing of like, again, as leaders and as owners, when you have a business, but even like on a personal level, you have to know where to draw the line. Like, again, because if you don't, you lose sense of self. You lose respect for yourself. You're like, I let too many people in. I let too much of myself go. I let things happen that I shouldn't have let happen. I should have drawn the line earlier. I should have,
And I like the idea of drawing the line with your schedule too, because I think this is something you and I can both work on a lot more of. Yeah. Of like we really should. I keep saying this, so maybe if I say it aloud, you guys will all hold me accountable. But like, I want content creation days. I want meetings. I want a time slot that I have available for lunch that somebody can book on the slot. Like I want it to be, I want that, like I only take private clients on these days and in these windows, and I am not available outside of these times. And at this time I am, I spend mornings with my son and evenings with my son, and these days I am off, and that is a non-negotiable. Like that's also drawing the line. It's not just like, oh, people are nice and I get, or people are mean and I get all walked all over, and then eventually at my the wrath of Emily comes out. It's also like knowing where to draw the line of like how much you're willing to give of yourself to others.
Yeah, I like that phrase, non-negotiables. I mean, I don't think anybody had heard that phrase before, like maybe 5 years ago, but now it's like
I love it.
It's like a phrase everyone uses, but it's really important, like to have your non-negotiables. This does not happen. This is like, this is the way I live. This is my schedule. This is my day, and these things are non-negotiable.
So important.
So important.
To be honest with yourself, to say those things like, yes, I'm not going to take a meeting until this time. And and then you realize, oh, wow, I just did something so great for myself. That's not only going to make me a better person or a better business person or people to deal with, but it just feels so good. It's a win-win everywhere.
Feels so good.
And it does feel great.
What's great is when you have a perfect day. That was like, when you have a day that kind of aligns with all of these points that we've talked about over the last 2 podcasts, and all of your non-negotiables were in there, and you created your perfect day. You feel so good at the end of that day. You are flying high.
When you nail a perfect day, it's so.
Oh my God. But
you didn't
like have a perfect day because you made a ton of money, or nothing miraculous happened, but the day went in alignment with your values.
Yeah. And
when that happens, it's like paradise. It's like, it's so good. You feel so good. You sleep so well. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, I think we're all in the constant pursuit of happiness, and trying to create the life for ourselves that we want. And I think if we all try harder to create the kind of day that aligns with our values, as opposed to create the kind of day that tries to please everybody and makes a ton of money and gets my dopamine rush from Instagram likes and all that kind of thing, we move away from that. I think we'd all be, in a lot better place. So having our values, living our days that align with our values, and getting a good night's sleep because we existed in that world is really the way forward.
Bingo. Nail on the head.
Anything to add, Emily Cavell?
No, I think you're brilliant. I do. I also think you're so cute. If I can just adorn my husband here for a moment. I just, again, because I've gone through and done a lot of these interviews of people who, know Pete or follow Pete. So many people come and they're like, he's just such a good guy and so authentic. Like, I remember, in case you don't know us very well, Pete and I got married after essentially 6 weeks of knowing each other. And I remember the day before, the day we decided to get married, we got married 2 days later. And one of your friends came up to me and pulled me away after your visa got denied and said, you will never find a guy like Pete. You will never find another one like this man. And I was like, I know. That's why I'm going to marry him. I'm going to marry him, So it's just fun for me.
That wasn't the one that said I was a trophy husband?
No, one and the same. They both one and the same. They're like, and he's damn good looking. He's a good man and he's good looking.
Like one of those internet brides.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. No, but I think that, episodes like this are where that comes out, where it's like Pete really is just authentic and wants to create this wisdom that instills these values, that pays it forward, that really can make the world a not just fitter and healthier, but also like more fulfilling place. Like we can all be just more fulfilled in our own lives. So I just want to thank you for doing that for our family and for our Pharos PH family.
Oh, that's cute.
He doesn't know what to say. He's blushing right now. He's blushing.
Well, listen, I think a lot of this stuff comes down to common sense, really. And common sense is just something that right now just seems so far away. Like, we just seem to have lost common sense. People are just, there's just, again, so much talking and so much like, this is right, no, this is right, and you're wrong, and I'm right, and everything's so polarizing all the time. It's like, can we just get back to some sort of sense of, and people talk a lot about science right now, but the science says this or the science says that. It's like, this isn't really science. Like, you are reaching to extremes when really, like, if we really looked at this and used a little bit of common sense, we could find a way. But because we don't really want to use common sense, we don't want to find the middle ground. We want to find the extremes. Common sense just gets lost. And I just long for the time when common sense can come back into our lives a little bit more.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a baseline for common sense, and like what you mentioned, like everybody has their own brand of common sense today. Just like whoa, get your own brand out of the baseline. That is your extreme, and you're bringing that and labeling it as common sense. Nope, get it out, keep it away.
Yeah.
There's a baseline. We all know that baseline. Let's meet there.
Oh, well, on that note, guys, we will end it there. Thanks again so much for listening. Feel free to share and like this podcast. We will be back with you next week. Thanks again for coming in, Brandon. We appreciate it.
No, I love working with you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Emily.
Have a great day, guys.
Have a great day, guys.
Tuning in.
We'll see you soon.